Hey, everybody. All right, so we're moving along in Beloved. And I hope you're enjoying the reading so far. We're going to now get into more flashbacks, and I hope, relationships and histories become a little bit clearer for you. So, we're reading up to page 173, I believe, in this section. Yep, pages 87 to 173. So, our reading this week begins with Beloved and Denver listening to Setha tell stories about Sweet Home. And Beloved craves these stories. Like she says, tell me your diamonds. She wants to know more and more about Setha. And we learn about Denver's birth while Setha was running from Sweet Home toward the north. Now, the Sweet Home plantation is in Kentucky. And so to get to freedom, Setha had to travel northward and then cross the Ohio River into southern Ohio. And once she gets into southern Ohio, then she's in the Free State. We also learn how Denver got her name from Amy Denver, who was the white girl who helped Setha. And this is an interesting aspect of the story. Amy Denver is also enslaved, but we would call her an indentured servant. She is maybe the daughter of her master. That's not really clear if she is or not. She doesn't know who her father is. And it's not really clear if her period of indentured servitude is over or not. What would happen is that poor Europeans would sell their labor to be able to cross the Atlantic and come to America, and then they would be what they would call indentured, to somebody there, meaning their slave, until that certain time period is up. Now, masters very often abused this and did not free people when they were supposed to free people. And this is not, by far not the same as the chattel slavery that Africans had to deal with. But Amy is also not completely free. So Amy Denver tells Setha that at least no one's looking for me, but there's someone looking for you. Right? So Setha has to be very careful. She lies about her name. She tells Amy that her name is really Lou. So just in case Amy does end up talking to authorities, they wouldn't necessarily know that it's Setha. So from telling all these stories, from putting these experiences into words, Setha is beginning to do what Baby Suggs told her to do when she arrived at 124 Bluestone Road, to lay it all down. Meaning, stop fighting, just open up and speak your truth. That's how I see it. We have a quote from Baby Suggs. She would say to Setha, lay him down, Setha, sword and shield, down, down, both of them down by the riverside, sword and shield. Don't study war no more. Lay all that mess down, sword and shield. So, in Setha's, telling of the stories, we also get flashback to that time when she's running. And part of this flashback, we meet Stamp Paid. Stamp Paid is a man who patrols the Ohio River for any slaves that may be going across. And he comes across Setha and her newborn baby at the edge of the Ohio River. What we see here is a piece of what later became known as the Underground Railroad, right? That network of people who are helping slaves get up to the north. In this reading, we also learn about Baby Suggs' teaching in the clearing by her house in Cincinnati. Baby Suggs, by the time of her death, had become known as a kind of preacher or a healer. So we switch back to the present moment, and Setha, Denver, and Beloved are in the clearing where Baby used to preach. Bit by bit, and this is a quote from the text, at 124 and in the clearing, along with the others, she had claimed herself. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. So in the month she had of life, in the free north, Setha had claimed ownership of herself. And we can think of the ceremony that Baby Suggs leads as a way for everyone to claim themselves, claim ownership of themselves. However, as Setha is thinking about baby Sug's preaching while they're sitting in the clearing, something chokes her. Something out of nowhere just starts choking her. We never find out exactly what it is, but Setha believes it's the ghost of either baby Suggs or the baby that she killed. We also learn more about how Denver feels toward Beloved, that she wants her all for herself. Beloved's like that sister she never had. After all, her brother's run away, right? And she's been alone with just her mother for most of her life. Next, we learn about Paul D. and some of the traumatic events that he survived while on a chain gang in Georgia. Now, I should warn you, there is some depiction of sexual assault here, so I have a trigger warning. Paul D. is, he's abused, needless to say. The fact that there is a rooster named Mr. who has more liberty than he did is something that he always returns to in his story, because it's like a thorn in his side that stupid little bird enjoys more freedom than he does as a man. Lastly, in this section of our reading, we see a pretty shocking scene between Beloved and Paul D. She essentially seduces him, and after having sex with her, Paul D feels compelled to leave the house. He tries to tell Setha about what happened, but he can't bring himself to do it, and he ends up just asking her if she wants to have another baby. And it's now getting to be winter time in Ohio. The snow is piling up, and there's this strange scene where we see Beloved reach into her mouth and pull out a molar. She doesn't even seem to be in pain or anything. She just pulls this tooth out. And we find out that she's afraid that she's going to fall apart, that her head's going to come off of her arms. I think that's very interesting and perhaps symbolic. But the last section of our reading explores baby Sug's story, where she welcomes Setha to her home at 124 Bluestone Road. Remember, Setha is the wife of baby's son, Hallie. So Setha's children are her grandchildren. And Setha's children, Howard Bugler, and the little baby that is crawling already, who never gets a name, have already arrived there because she sent her children on before she left. Baby Sug's freedom was purchased by Hallie. He worked on Sundays for many years to be able to buy his mother freedom. And we see how it was for her to adjust to this new life in southern Ohio as a free woman. So after Setha arrives and settles in, they plan a feast. And the whole time this feast is going on, there's an ominous feeling she has, until she sees the overseer from Sweet Home, school teacher, coming down the road. That is the look of those high top shoes that she didn't like the look of at all. So, next week's reading will begin with that horrific scene of Setha killing her baby. Her crawling already? Baby. So, for this week's discussion board, I ask you to explore the relationships between Setha and Beloved and between Denver and Beloved. Then, of course, we have to deal with this strange encounter with Paul D. in the shed when Beloved seduces him. I think, looking at all three of these relationships, I think that Beloved is different things to different people, and that she ends up kind of fulfilling their emotional needs, whatever they might be. Also, for the discussion board this week, take some time to describe in your own words how you see the figure of baby Suggs. She reclaims herself when she arrives on the north side of the Ohio River. And then she set to work on helping other people claim themselves and heal from the trauma that they had to live through. So the scene of her preaching in the clearing is really a very moving scene of communal kind of healing and a spiritual kind of healing. So I look forward to your thoughts on the discussion board. I hope you're enjoying this reading as much as I am. Now, I understand that this text is not easy to read. It jumps around a lot, and it takes a minute sometimes to kind of orient yourself. Like, okay, is this a flashback? What's happening in this flashback? How does this flashback relate to the present moment? Remember, Toni Morrison wanted to kidnap her readers. She wanted to toss you around and make you disoriented. So some of that, if you experience that disorientation, you're supposed to. That's what Morrison wanted. But if you are a little too disoriented and you're not really quite sure what's happening, please send me an email. You are also welcome to put this in your discussion board post. If there's something that's unclear for you when you're working on your post, make sure you say it, because you're probably not the only one. This is not an easy read. It is a very enlightening and stimulating and fascinating read, but it's not easy. So if you have any questions about the reading, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love talking about Beloved, and I will be more than happy to clarify for you. Otherwise, I will see you on the discussion board.